Hi, I'm Anna and this is my January wrap-up. The first month of the year, I finished a total of 16 books and that gave me 5,983 pages read. It was nearly 200 more pages, but I'll pass them on to February because it's a huge book. That's Nightmares and Dreamscapes by Stephen King. That is nearly 1,000 pages and I just read 168. 13 of these were in English and 3 of them were in Spanish. 8 of these were physical books, 6 were audiobooks, and 4 were ebooks, which is a lot for what I normally read on ebook. 8 of the books were fantasy. But I read 9 different genres. The first one was Amina's Voice by Hannah Khan. And this is a middle grade in which Amina is scared of sharing her voice with the public. She seems to sing beautifully, but then she's scared to show her talent. And Amina is a Muslim American girl. And there's Asian representation too. And this is a multicultural book that shows the struggles of being accepted in a foreign culture and that process of self-acceptance and love just because you're different. I gave this book 4 stars. Then I read an ebook, The Trunk of Stars by Susie Deanan. This was a beautiful standalone middle grade of found family and it's the story of Cairo, a girl that seems to have gotten lost from her parents and was taken by a band of thieves ruled by an evil grandma. Caro escapes from her because she wants to try and find her parents. Then she thinks her parents are dead and at some point she discovers like she was stolen. Then it's her ordeal and her journey and the family she found along the way. I don't want to say anything else not to spoil it, but I would recommend it. Then I read Crooked Kingdom by Leigh Bardugo. This is the second one in the Six of Crows duology. And with this one I discovered I had an issue with Leigh Bardugo and I wasn't sure which one it was. So I'll talk about it later. But I really like Crooked Kingdom. It took me a long time to get deep into it. I've told that it was because I haven't read the Grisha trilogy. But there are a couple of other issues with these. This is a YA fantasy that is the story of a group of people from different origins. So it could be considered another multicultural book. And there's LGBTQIA rap. It's quite beautiful. I mean, I don't want to say anything because I could spoil the Grishaverse, but Kaz and Inej are the best characters for me. I was really invested in the characters and I liked the plot and the world, but the thing is that I never fully understood the way the world works, or it took me a very long time to understand a few issues. I think it's too late that she gets to explain certain issues because I spent about 300 pages, kind of confused. So it was too much. I anyway gave it 4 stars. It came up as a 4 stars in Copile. I'll link the new Copile system down below. The video by G from Book Rose is a system she created. And she made amazing changes for this year and I really, really love it. Then I finished A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. This is a new adult fantasy. And it is the second one in the A Court of Thorns and Roses series. But I really, really liked this book. I gave it also 4 stars. It would have been a 5, but I had a couple of personal issues with the way things were done. I thought she confuses sexual desire with love in most of the book. And I love the smell of it. And I don't like the main character that much, Farah. And this is the retelling of The Beauty and the Beast, but in this one is where things start going a very, very different way. And I'll just say you have to read it, because anything I tell you from the characters is going to spoil it. So yeah, you need to get this read. But the thing is that Farah, at the beginning of A Court of Thorns and Roses, kills a fae, and basically as a punishment she's taken to live in the palace of one of the fae kings. She gets to live there, and then there's a lot of intrigue, there's a lot of romance in it, and I thought I wouldn't like it because of the romance. I kind of like it, but there are many things I just don't believe would happen that way. After that, I finished that Ninth House. Is the first adult book published by Lee Bardugo, and this is a dark academia book. I liked the dark academia, but again, the same issue. I believe there are details that are essential to be explained before she explains them, and she does it too late for my taste. Then there's another thing, and is that there are many important events that should be explained, or background events that should be explained beforehand, or should be explained and they're not clearly set, and she spends too long telling you things that are irrelevant for the story, or that have nothing to do with whatever's happening, or that you will never understand. I think she assumes you know the system of US universities that you don't, or I don't. I have never lived in the States and don't know how they work, to be honest. And it stops too long telling you the story of many houses within Yale that I know nothing about. So yeah, I had that issue. I gave it 3 stars because of that. But I did like the characters a lot. Oh, I had another problem with these, and it's that the main character, Alex Stern, is, to me, a control copy, control paste, basically, of the main character, Lisbeth Salander, the main character in the Millennium Saga. If you've read that one, which is prior to this one, and then you read this one, and there's no resemblance to you, or not much, well, I don't know, maybe I'm quite wrong, but I thought it was too copied. It was nothing original. After Ninth House, I read The Poppy War. I had started that last year, but I just read 133 pages. That is an epic fantasy, or high fantasy. And it's the story of Rin, who's a war orphan that is adopted by a family. This is a bit stereotypical, but that doesn't make it bad at all. Family who doesn't love her. Her stepmom wants to get her married to a very old man. So she finds a way out by entering the best military academy in the country. This is kind of historical fiction because it has elements from several wars China has gone through. And she finds out that she has a very special skill whilst she's in the academy, and then war starts at some point, and they have to fight without finishing their proper training. And I cannot tell you anything else, but I highly recommend it. This was the first 5-star of the month. I really love this book. I thought it was going to be 4 stars, but it turned out as a 5. It was 907 in Copile. Then I listened to Fatal Rivalry by Mercedes Rochelle. This is a historical fiction book, and is the best way to tell history I've found. It's told in first person from the perspective of different POVs, which are the Godwin brothers. It tells the history of England around the 100 Years' War, and basically explains history from their point of view. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and this is the last one in the Godwin Brothers trilogy. And I gave this book 4 stars. Then I read The Titan's Curse by Rick Riordan. I was going to say by Percy Jackson. By Rick Riordan. This is the 3rd one in the Percy Jackson and the Olympian series. This is a middle grade adventure story that constitutes a retelling of the whole Greek mythology. Like, the whole series includes, I don't know if all, because I'm still on the 3rd book out of 5 or 6, but if it's not all, it's most of the Greek mythology. And it's a wonderful way for middle graders to learn about these, because they would never forget. It's adventurous. I love Percy. My favorite character is Annabeth. If you've read it, you know who I'm talking about. And I think we share the same godparent. Is focused on a group of heroes or demigods, and the abilities they have, they're divided in a camp according to the abilities that come from the godparent. I would highly recommend the Percy Jackson series, and I gave this one 4 stars. Then I listened to Finding Carson by Josh Soley, also given to me by the author, so thank you so very much. In exchange for an honest review, I gave it 3 stars. And this is kind of a mystery / thriller about a retired policeman who sees another police person mistreating a young girl. So then he decides to get involved in the investigation, but he shouldn't because that's illegal. And then it shows the consequences of your actions. But I thought it was too focused on showing things that I wouldn't care that much about him. I liked the story, but it wasn't like anything that drove me crazy. Oh, and it's an adult book. Then I also listened to Silver Light, also given to me in exchange for a review, by J.R. Rain and Matthew S. Cox. And this was a weird story. It's an urban fantasy / thriller about a girl who died many years ago and has another person in their head that is kind of a soul, but then she's a mermaid and investigates cases. I thought it quite illogical. There were things that made me... The story is nice, it's okay, and I gave this book 3 stars. Then I finished Tropic of Cancer, and one of my goals of the year was to finish books that I had started in 2020, and I already finished The Poppy Way, The Titan's Curse, and Tropic of Cancer, and trust me, I'm very happy for having done this. I have continued with series, with The Court of Mist and Fury and The Titan's Curse, and I feel so good because of that. Tropic of Cancer by Henry Miller is an autobiographical book, so I considered it not fiction, but I hated the view on women. I understand it was written in 1934, but it's too misogynistic. And it was like pieces of stories that were connected just by him. It was a character he's never happy, and the people he's surrounded by, I found disgusting. If not all of them, most of them. I don't know, it's just, I gave it 2 stars. It was the lowest of the month. Then I read Essays on Hysteria by Sigmund Freud. This is a non-fiction about psychology. I gave it 3 stars. I do like his vision. I think he was right on many aspects. But of course, because of its time, then he would call hysteria things that now we already know are different. But I think he was a brilliant person. It's just, there were things that in this book that were not related to hysteria, or that talked about hysteria from a doctor's perspective in that time. And yeah, it was fine. I just don't believe in psychoanalysis, but I believe he was right on many aspects. He just wouldn't have a right name, or wouldn't know how to differentiate things at the time. Then I read my book of the month, The Night Takers. It actually turned out to be one of my favorite books of all time. This is a dream. Okay, it's whimsical. The writing is flowery, but it's not exaggeratingly flowery. I don't know if that's a thing. Then, I don't know, the quotes, the behaviors, the characters, I was completely in love with the characters. Even the villain. Like, I don't know, I'm completely in love. You have to read this. If you haven't, I highly encourage you, if you're okay with flowery writing, of course, to read this thing. This was a dream. It's just, I have no better way to explain it. This is the story of a circus full of magicians in which magic is hidden as illusions, but it is actually quite real. And within the circus, there are two magicians who are supposed to be in a duel, but they didn't get there because they wanted to. They were bonded, that's what they call it, by two other magicians. I cannot tell you anything else because I don't want to spoil the story. But the circus appears at night, out of nowhere, in a place, and only opens when the sun sets, and closes when the sun goes up. I'm just... It's my book of the month, one of my favorites of the year. I know, I've already said that. Second time. Okay, whatever. I'll say it as many times as necessary, but I'm completely in love with this book. That completely. I had a pretty tough week when I was reading this one, and it transported me into another world. Like, I discovered this year, I've said this before in other videos, but if you haven't watched them, that I'm completely driven by atmosphere. Like, mainly driven by atmosphere. I would say second is the characters and third the plot, but the plot and the characters to me are tightly related. But yeah, I mean, this is nothing but atmospheric. From page one, you dive into the whole dream, and you're there within the dream, and it's just... Okay, I'll stop rambling. Then I listened to Crocodile by Bradley Carter, and I was kindly given this book, again in exchange for a review by the author. I'm very thankful, but I gave this one 2 stars. So yeah, I wouldn't care for the story, for the characters, or let it pass. Then I listened to A Song of Rapes and Ruin by Roseanne A. Brown, and I did like this book. It came up as a 4-star. This is a YA fantasy story full of Ghanaian mythology. The author is an American Ghanaian. This is her first book, her first actually attempt at writing a book. I thought that was surprising because the writing style was quite good. It made it quite easy. Then she clearly differentiated between the characters. It was told from the both main characters' perspective, so it has 2 POVs. The princess, I believe it's called Karina, and Malik. And the thing is, Malik is traveling with his sisters, and then one of his sisters gets kidnapped, and to save her, he's told that he has to kill the princess. The princess has just lost her mother, and it's quite a hard story at points. Like, it's a story of loss and also kind of personal growth. Because I love the development of the characters, the portrayal of Ghanaian mythology. I thought it was quite interesting, but I wouldn't care, probably because it was very YA. I don't know if it's that, but I wouldn't care for the characters. I don't know. It's just there was something about them that probably too ambiguous. But yeah, I mean, the story was quite good. It got 4 stars from me, and this is the first one in a series. I would highly recommend you to start reading. And well, that's it for me today for the month of January. Thank you very much for watching until the end. I hope, please leave me a coffee cup if you got to this point, because I'm a coffee and tea addict. And please let me know if you think there's any book I would love from the books I loved this month, or what I liked or disliked, what you thought about these books if you've read any. Let me know how you're doing, how you did in the month of January. I'd love to know. And don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, click the bell for notifications down here. And I hope to see you very soon on my channel, and that you're having a wonderful beginning of February. Have a good one. Bye!